When the Galactic Empire seized an abandoned Terran outpost, they expected dusty tech, useless relics, and more proof of humanity's backward ways. What they found instead was a strange, old weapon. Metal, rotating barrels, no plasma, no AI, no energy signature at all. They laughed, called it a hand-cranked joke. To prove their superiority, they dragged a human prisoner into the Imperial arena and told him to demonstrate it. Just for fun, just to show the crowd how pathetic Earth's weapons once were. Then, the man pulled the trigger. What happened next wasn't just unexpected, it was catastrophic. Shields failed, bodies dropped, and an entire elite unit was shredded in seconds. That ancient toy? It was called a Gatling gun, and it didn't care how advanced your armor was. Suddenly, the Empire wasn't laughing anymore. The relic from a dying world. The planet Enoch 7 was a forgotten outpost from the Terran expansion era, a time when humanity was clawing its way into the stars. It had been evacuated nearly a century, ago left to rot as newer colonies thrived closer to core systems. When the Galactic Empire swept through human space, Enoch 7 barely registered as a tactical interest. Still, protocol dictated that any human settlement be cataloged and harvested. Commander Vrax led the scouting detail. A seasoned Drexian officer with violet scales and a long military record, he was unimpressed by the state of the ruins. The buildings were made of stone and steel, not the flowing biometal preferred by the Empire. The databanks were fried. The defenses had long since powered down. Yet in a subterranean storage vault, his team discovered something odd. "It's a weapon, sir," said Sub-Commander Helix, peering through his visor. "Manual operation. Analog firing mechanism. No energy cell detected." Vrax stared at the object. It had multiple barrels arranged in a circle, a belt of solid slugs coiled, like a serpent beside it. The entire assembly sat atop a rusting tripod. It looked laughable. "Bring it back," Vrax said, smirking. "We could use some entertainment." Imperial confidence back on the Empire's capital world, Jerikai. News of the bizarre human weapon spread quickly among the upper ranks. A demonstration was scheduled in the Imperial arena, a coliseum where new technology was often tested against live prisoners, much to the delight of the crowd. The plan was simple: pit a small team of elite shock troopers against the human relic. A human prisoner, one of the last remaining from Earth's resistance, would be forced to operate it. His name was Elias Grant. Once a captain in the Terran Defense Corps, now a broken man after years of torture and confinement. The Empire viewed him as harmless, outdated, and defeated, but they had underestimated something fundamental. Elias hadn't forgotten what that weapon was. He hadn't forgotten how it worked, and most of all, he hadn't forgotten why it was built. Spinning barrels and silent breath. The day of the demonstration, the arena was filled with high-ranking officials, nobles, and military scientists. Commander Vrax sat in the royal box, flanked by aristocrats who sipped iridescent wines and laughed at the ancient thing placed at the center of the sand pit. The Gatling gun. Elias was marched into the pit by 2 guards. He limped, wore shackles, and looked half dead. When they positioned him next to the relic, he ran his fingers gently across its barrel. It was older than him. A model dating back to Earth's 19th century. A weapon invented before plasma, before warp drives, before the Empire had even discovered fire. But it was brutally efficient. It didn't rely on smart tech or energy cells. It relied on something far more terrifying: kinetic saturation. The troopers entered the arena, 10 of them, clad in shimmering armor, each armed with energy blades and plasma rifles. "Begin," the announcer called. Elias spun the crank. The barrels whirred, and then he pulled the trigger. Catastrophe. The Gatling gun screamed. A deafening roar of thunder erupted as thousands of rounds exploded from the barrels, each slug a devastating hunk of lead moving at unimaginable speed. The first trooper's shield flared and vanished. He crumpled, armor punched through like foil. The next was shredded mid-run, limbs torn apart by the velocity. Panic rippled through the arena. The nobles stood in shock. The techs began screaming data into their consoles. "They're falling," one shouted. Their armor can't handle the impact force. Why is it not stopping? Because it didn't need to. The Gatling gun didn't jam, didn't overheat, didn't wait for AI confirmation. It just kept firing. Within 30 seconds, the entire squad was down. Silence and smoke. The barrel spun in silence as the final round ejected. Elias stepped back, breathing hard. Smoke curled around him. Casings lay like golden snow at his feet. Across the arena, blood and circuitry painted the sand. And the Empire's most elite warriors lay motionless. For a full minute, no one moved. Then Vrax rose slowly from his seat. "Shut it down," he ordered, his voice hollow. But the damage had already been done. The aftershock in. The days following the incident, the Empire scrambled to contain the narrative. The footage was restricted. Scientists were ordered to study kinetic weapons with fresh urgency. New training protocols were issued for troops encountering Terran relics. But whispers spread fast. Even in tightly controlled systems, the story leaked. One man, one ancient weapon, 10 elite troopers obliterated. A legend was born. Back on Earth, deep in hiding, human resistance cells got wind of it. Morale soared. Engineers began studying low-tech, high-impact weaponry again. Because the truth was clear, humanity didn't always need the best technology. They just needed what worked. The Empire rethinks warfare. Months passed. Skirmishes erupted along contested borders. Empire forces began encountering more resistance than before. And sometimes, they faced kinetic weapons. Gatling-style guns, modified rail rifles, simple mortars, slug throwers that didn't rely on energy signatures or EMP-vulnerable systems. Empire shields designed for plasma and lasers proved alarmingly ineffective. Elite soldiers who had once scoffed at human relics now requested additional armor plating. Training manuals were updated to include a new term, kinetic threat level. The Empire had to adapt, fast. Elias disappears. As for Elias Grant, he vanished from official records. Rumors claimed he was executed for humiliating the Empire. Others whispered he had escaped, rescued by a covert resistance team during the chaos. Some said he had returned to Earth's hidden colonies, helping forge a new era of guerrilla warfare. Whatever the truth, his legacy endured. To the Empire, he was a stain, a reminder of their arrogance. To humans across the stars, he was a hero. And to military historians, he was proof of an undeniable fact. Sometimes, progress forgets what power really means. The tribunal and the turn, the Imperial Tribunal convened, behind closed doors in the depths of Jerichai's citadel. What had begun as a simple demonstration had erupted into a seismic shift in military doctrine, political standing, and public trust. Commander Vrax now stood trial, not for treason, but for tactical failure of galactic consequence. High Minister Izari, a serpentine Zaraxian known for her cold logic, presided over the hearing. "You allowed a relic of a dead species to humiliate our finest warriors," she hissed. "Explain yourself." Vrax stood firm, unflinching. "With respect, Minister, I followed procedure. We underestimated an obsolete device. I now recommend a re-evaluation of Terran kinetic arsenals." "Terrans are extinct," another minister barked. "Their tactics are irrelevant." "No, they're not," Vrax said calmly. "They are evolving, quietly, while we ridicule them." His words lingered in the chamber. Despite their outrage, no one could deny it. If humans were still out there, and if more weapons like the Gatling gun still existed, then the Empire was no longer invincible. For the first time in centuries, the tribunal acknowledged vulnerability. And vulnerability in the Empire was dangerous. Human ghost fleets out on the fringes of charted space. Something stirred. Convoys went missing. Patrol stations stopped transmitting. When scouts were dispatched, all they found were trails of depleted uranium slugs, shattered drones, and slagged-out weapon systems that didn't match any modern blueprints. It wasn't pirates. It wasn't rebellion. It was something older, colder, and unmistakably human. Resistance leader Commander Amara Nix coordinated it all from the bridge of the ISS Revenant, a stealth cruiser operating in sensor-silent zones. She had heard the story of Elias Grant, had seen the leaked footage, and had made a decision. Kinetic warfare was back. Her ships were equipped not with energy weapons, but with coil guns, flak turrets, and autocannons. Low-tech by Empire standards, but nearly undetectable by modern scanners and devastating upon impact. "We fight in shadows," she told her fleet. "We hit them where they think we can't. We remind them that humans weren't wiped out. They simply went quiet. Now we speak in thunder again. And thunder they did. The hunter sent." The Empire didn't take humiliation lightly. Following the tribunal, the Emperor authorized Project Vindicator, a Black Ops initiative with one goal: to find Elias Grant, dead or alive, and eliminate any remnants of the kinetic threat. Enter Inquisitor Knight Solver Dren, a cybernetically enhanced Apexian with neural implants tied directly to the Empire's warnet. His mind moved faster than light-calculating computers. He'd hunted rogue AI, extinct tech cults, and rebel fleets across 12 sectors, but this assignment was different. "You're hunting a ghost," said Minister Izari as she handed him the classified fill.